league. There was kind of news, but not really. We already, Lincoln, you weren't a part of this, but me and Ken were breaking down the whole Sha'Carri Richardson situation with her being banned because of the marijuana use and not being a part of the 100-meter team, which was crazy. It happened last weekend. But then news came out earlier this week that she's not going to be on the 4x1. Lincoln, first of all, what's your first overall take to this whole Sha'Carri Richardson situation, from testing positive, this 30-day suspension, not being on the 100-meter team, and now not being considered an alternate or a part of the 4x1 team?
I mean, just stepping even back further than that, this whole Sha'Carri Richardson experience has been wild for the last, 3 weeks. I mean, she, with her 100-meter win at the trials, which obviously has since been disqualified, she became like a veritable internet star. Like, I haven't checked in the last week, but her Instagram was over 2 million followers. I mean, that doesn't happen for track athletes outside of Usain Bolt. I mean, the popular American athletes have, 100,000 to maybe 500,000 followers, but she was becoming a superstar, and she still is. The marijuana thing, I think my thoughts are the same as a lot of people. It's incredibly, it's incredibly dumb that marijuana is still considered a banned substance. And it's laughable that it's considered one because supposedly it has, it can get improved performance. I mean, not saying I've ever used marijuana. I'm not saying it either, but I can tell you with relative confidence, it does not improve athletic performance. That being said, and I know she was mourning the death of her mother, and so that's what really complicates it. So I don't have like one strong take other than to say she shouldn't have smoked marijuana simply because it's in the rules and it jeopardized her chance to win an Olympic gold medal. But at the same time, she had extenuating circumstances, so I could kind of understand it. And it just highlighted, and I think most people now see, it shouldn't be in the rule book that you get any suspension for using a substance like marijuana that's legal in Oregon, where she, I think, used the substance. So it's a dumb rule, but it's also a rule. So I think it's sad, but by the letter of the rule, she had to be banned. It was just blown out to an even bigger degree because of how big of a star, obviously, she had become. If this was any other random athlete, somebody, even somebody who would have won the 15 or the 800, it would have been nowhere near this big. But because she was the best sprinter in the U.S., best 100-meter runner in the U.S., and had really just like got this online personality going, it just took on a whole other thing. So I guess I think, like most people, I would say dumb rule, but it's a rule nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, that was my reaction to dumb rule. I was more upset with the rule than the ban and all this craziness. But there was that glimmer of hope after she did get banned from the 100 that she would be on this 4x1 team, and she wasn't put on it. There's different takes out there. I heard multiple theories. I heard a theory that she technically wasn't eligible to be selected to the 4x1 because in order to be selected, you have to be eligible the day you're selected, not eligible the day you run the race that you're selected for. So that was the argument. Like, she could never have been on the 4x1 because the way they select the 4x1 team, for those who don't know, top 4 are automatically on it, and then there's 2 at-large spots. And notoriously, those 2 at-large spots have always gone to the 5th and 6th place runners at the 100-meter final to avoid any controversy. But we never had a situation like this where clearly Sha'Carri deserves to be in that top 6. But there was people bring up the rule books talking about that technically she wasn't eligible to be selected, but that's people kind of reading the rules in different ways. Some people were like, that's just how you interpret it. And then there was other people who were saying that there was like conflict internally about whether or not what leg she would be able to run. Like, she wanted to run the anchor leg, or her coach wanted her to run the anchor leg. They wanted her to run the third leg. And maybe that little argument in general caused them to just like not pick her at all to get rid of that controversy. The 4x1 is full of controversy with people dropping the batons, the order, people making the team, not making the team. Every year, without a doubt, 4x1 gives us something to talk about. But do you think
Yeah,
that they should
go ahead.
USATF should have found a way to put her on the 4x1?
I come with it with conflicting things. Ultimately, I think no for a couple reasons. One, this sounds like a legal mumbo jumbo, but it sets a bad precedent. People all of a sudden that if you don't go to the next people down on the list, they're people are gonna not make the final, but they're gonna be like in future years and be like, well, you picked somebody outside the top six finishers with Sha'Carri Richardson. What's the difference here? You should pick me, and it could be a whole thing where when they have this system where they honor the top six, it's just much more cohesive. Also, it comes down to, do I think she's gonna would necessarily test positive ever again? No, but let's imagine just a crazy situation with me for a second where they go to Tokyo and she runs the final and they win whatever medal, and it doesn't matter if it's gold, but bronze, silver, whatever. And then after that, she tests positive again for marijuana or something. Do I think that's going to happen? No. But imagine that her whole team loses their medal, and then it's like, USATF, what are you doing putting this person who got hit with a ban on this team? So I get it from that perspective, not putting her on there, and then also the fact that setting a bad precedent. But I also, again, not to complicate things, I also am like, this would be a good story. And again, going back to her popularity, good for the Olympics too, to have her in some event. So again, I see the pros and the cons. Ultimately, if I was making the decision, I'd come back to she can't compete. But man, this is so unfortunate. I can really see both sides, and I lean on the decisions that were made ultimately, despite NBA players coming into the fray and really popular people from our culture coming in and supporting her. I mean, heck, we had AOC coming in asking for her to compete. Things just got kind of absurd. I think it was the right call for her to not be in the Olympics ultimately, if I really had to put my name on it and decide.
Yeah, and even if you look at this like complex headline, Diddy addresses Sha'Carri Richardson's Olympic marijuana controversy. If they let Michael Phelps swim, they should let her run. And it's like, well, they banned Michael Phelps as well. They banned him for 3 months. It just happens that his ban
And he didn't
overlap with the Olympics. So like,
Yeah,
people
exactly.
forget, like,
Exactly.
yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
that's the thing about this whole situation is like, our sport is so weird with timeliness that if your ban happens to fall in the most important moment, because we don't have these important moments throughout the entire year, you know, it's a bigger deal. So that, like, there's people who just don't understand that. Like, yeah, they're banning everyone equally. It just becomes unequal when the ban overlaps with that one moment that matters most. So, and that's just a luck of the draw timeline of when you test it
Yeah,
positive
and
for whatever it
I've
is.
really, my wife loves being on TikTok, and this has crossed over into into TikTok territory of people commenting on all the various things going on in track that they're just jumping in on right now. I do agree with a lot of people that are even uninformed about the marijuana rule. It's a dumb rule, but it's been crazy with this Sha'Carri Richardson situation. All the people, and then they're jumping in on the DSD arguments. And people are talking about what's in a burrito too, that would never be talking about that. It's just been a wild, ever since the trials, man. Track and field is front and center. It's been fun. I know some people have suffered because of it, but it's been cool to see like track just getting all this publicity.
And we thought the Shelby Houlihan situation was going to be like the
Yeah.
craziest thing that happened. It's like now
Yeah,
like a
that seems like a year
footnote
ago
compared to
now.
everything else
Yeah.
with like all the
Yeah,
fast
for sure.
times and Sha'Carri world. Anyway, we'll probably be talking about Sha'Carri for every pod going forward throughout the Olympics. Especially, I want to say one
Mm-hmm.
thing before we get into the Diamond League. She probably, I think, will likely return to the track at Prefontaine Classic. I'm guessing it's the first Diamond
Yeah.
League after the Olympics. It's end of August. So many more people are going to be tuned into that race than would have
Yeah.
been tuned into that race if none of this happened and she won Olympic gold. If none of this happened and she won Olympic gold, the
Yeah.
hype around her regular season track races is so much bigger now. Like
Yeah, she could be the people's champ, because let's be honest,
yeah.
Tokyo, there's not going to be any fans, so she can't be the people's champ at the Olympic Games, but you can be when you bring it back stateside. You got those no capacity limit. Well, maybe Hayward Field still does, but we're just going full bore here. So listen, if you're going to pick a year to get banned from the Olympics, a year when there's no fans allowed in the stadium, I mean, there's plenty to still be had. And I just saw that graphic there. If you wanted to pull it up from her Twitter, the fact that, like all these events that are coming up. I mean, I know you guys have probably discussed this at length, but I love that tweet, 20 to 22, 20 to 25, undefeated. That's how I feel personally. I've taken some L's in the past and in 2021, but those 4 years ahead, currently undefeated. So I'm the
We're all
same as
going-
Sha'Carri in some ways.
Yeah. We're all going undefeated in 22 to 2025. That's the plan.
Yeah.